to MakilalaTV. I am Rachelle Ocampo, the lead co-host for this exclusive episode, Fil-Am Public Servants, our finest and bravest. I am alongside my beautiful co-hosts, Cristina Pastor and Jen Fuhrer, who will help drive some questions that we've all wanted to know about the NYPD and FDNY regarding Fil-Am representation in their workforce, their take on the high-tension protests and racism on the streets of New York City, and also the fulfilling moments that they experience that makes their jobs all worth putting their own lives on the line. Representing our New York City's finest is Deputy Inspector Edward Carrasco, the highest-ranking Fil-Am officer in the department. And representing New York City's bravest is my very own Kuya Ryan Ocampo, firefighter, keeping us from harm's way right in the backyard of QPTV studios. The first question I have for the both of you is, what made you want to join New York City's finest and bravest? Deputy Inspector, we could start with you.
Well, it's been such a long time, I really don't remember anymore. I think it must have been a combination of wanting to help people and also just the adventure of being a police officer and being a crime fighter. I mean, I came on the NYPD in the early 90s when New York City looked a lot different than it does now. And I kind of grew up watching cop shows, and I respected police officers, and it was just something I've always wanted to do. Maybe not as a career, but definitely for the first couple of years. And it's been over 20 years now, and I'm still here.
Wow. So even if you were eligible to retire, right, after 20 years, or
yes.
How long is it?
After 20
years. And you still decide to stay?
Yeah, yes. I mean, I thought about retiring about a year ago, and I went out and saw what jobs were out there. But at the end of the day, I enjoyed doing what I do, and I think that this is more rewarding. I don't think I'd be able to find a job in the private sector that would be just as rewarding as what I do now. So I decided to stay.
Wow, cool. And Ryan?
Yeah, pretty much the same thing. Like, because I knew it was a rewarding job. And I knew I wasn't going to be able to be the 9 to 5, sit at a desk all day kind of guy.
Person, yeah.
Yeah, I'm very active, very active when it comes to my work too. So, and actually my father-in-law told me to join, volunteer first. Then I went on to EMS.
Why would he let, well?
He was an EMS officer also, actually right here too. And he told me, he's like, try it out, see if you like it. And I joined the volunteers. I went on my first call. It was great, lights, sirens going, adrenaline rushes going, and I got hooked. After that, I fell in love with the job, and I knew I had to do what I'm doing now. And
exactly how you watched it on TV.
Well, yeah, I can't lie and say it was like I've been dreaming about it since I was a kid, because I wasn't.
Yeah.
Some guys do, and I really wasn't. It wasn't an option for me, and it opened up, and I took it. So.
I wanted to ask something current, Ed. Do you know Officers Ramos and Officer Lou, who are in the news recently?
I know of them, but I didn't know them personally.
Okay. Nag-attend ka ba ng funeral services nila?
Nag-attend daw.
Nag-attend ka. So, isa ka ba sa mga officers na tumalikod ng duwang si De Blasio?
Kaya pala Tagalog yung tanong. Marami akong kilala na tumalikod, pero hindi ako isa.
Hindi ka tumalikod. So, how do you explain this widening rift between the mayor and the NYPD currently?
I think it's unfortunate, pero nangyari na ito dati.
Yeah.
Kahit sino naman mayor, may hindi naman nila na naunawaan yung mga police, or at least yun yung mga perception ng mga police. But hopefully it's something that that just blows over, and the rift is healed.
And I think the dialogue is continuing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Between the two sides.
Absolutely.
Right?
I think it's harder for, just an observation, harder for you guys to do your job because there's so many different, with social media, there's so many different ways for people that could communicate to the entire world. So how does social media affect, working in NYPD or the fire department?
I mean, you just always want to do the right thing. That's the main thing. You know what I mean? Like, I know things could be misconceived by what we do and what happens on actual social media, but it's really about doing the right thing for me. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to clarify that I'm not representing the department when I speak, but just from from my vantage point, it makes it difficult, but it also makes it easy. So if there's a crime that we need information about, it's easy to push it out through social media and to get tips. But at the same time, some of the officers who I've spoken with, it becomes difficult for them to do their jobs because it's just a perception. If someone were to take a video of you arresting, I don't know, let's say hypothetically, speaking, a 22-year-old man who just robbed a bank, if someone were to take that video and post it on social media and say that this is a 12-year-old boy who was jaywalking, that's the narrative, and that's what people are going to believe. And unfortunately, there's nothing that we can do to prevent people from thinking that way. But the good news is, it's the overwhelming majority of people who see those videos, they know they're smart enough to discern between what's real and what the real story behind it is sometimes, and they know that there's definitely more than one side to the story.
And they come to their own conclusion right away.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, I think the recent protests are just a great example of that, where you watch TV.
That's right. Yeah.
They, there's a lot of what seems to be negativity, but when I put on a uniform and I go out and I meet people in various communities, there's been nothing but just praise and just and positive I guess messages coming out of those neighborhoods.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your position in the NYPD as deputy inspector, because that is you representing as a Fil-Am, not even just Fil-Am, but you said that you are the highest ranking non-Chinese Asian officer, right?
Currently, yes.
Yes. I mean, can you describe your workday, or what do you do as deputy inspector?
Well, it's very atypical. I think that's probably what drew me to the police department. And I don't want to speak specifically about what I do now, but deputy inspectors in general could be assigned in a number of different areas in the police department. You could be a precinct commander, or you could be you're working inside doing administrative tasks. And I've done both as an executive. So I've worked patrol, I've worked inside, I've done training, and regardless of where you are, as a deputy inspector or a supervisor in general, I mean, your job is to set a good example and to lead and to make sure your subordinates are doing what they're supposed to do. It varies. So I mean, I just got reassigned to somewhere different. So I'm learning that job, but it depends. So you could have about 100 or fewer people working under you, or more.
How many Filipino Americans are there in the NYPD? And I will ask the same question of you, Ryan, later.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's actually a hard question to pinpoint. I mean, I can just just speculate, because when you join the NYPD, you're asked certain background information, and there's no question that breaks it down to further than Asian. But looking at responses when we've asked police officers if they speak Tagalog or understand Tagalog, there are over 100. So I would imagine that there are another 100 who don't speak Tagalog or who don't understand Tagalog, who are Filipino. So I would put the estimate at around 200, 220.
Out of a total population of about 35,000.
35,000 uniform.
Yeah. And you mentioned earlier that actually it's a Filipino who was the first Asian to die in line of duty.
Yes, in 1989, Detective Burson.
Would you like to speak more about that?
I didn't know. That was before I came on the job, but it's just just I guess a point of fact that I wanted to bring out. So, and then the New York Times even wrote about it.
Yeah. So Ryan,
we have been
in the FDNY, how many Filipinos are there?
I know it's a handful. It's not a lot. From what I've seen, I don't know specific statistics about it, but like he was saying, like you're in that specific category of just Asian, not really Filipino or Pacific Islander. Is that a thing? I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's not a lot. I know that much.
Well, you actually tried to do this initiative of bringing Filipinos in the Philippine Independence Day Parade.
Yes.
Can you tell us about that? Because I didn't even think of having FDNY be part of the parade. I thought they were always. I thought it was just a thing, but I guess it never happened.
Well, it was, from what I know, like, because I had a friend who is Filipino on the NYPD, and he marches in the parade every year. And I asked him, I was like, are there any firefighters or EMTs like from the FDNY that march? And he said, not a lot. I think maybe 2 or 3. So,
2 or 3?
I don't know. From what I've seen, it wasn't a lot. It's definitely not a lot. And I know they just tag along with the NYPD. So what I did was, I called up the president of the parade, Faye. Yeah, I called her a very nice lady. I asked her. I was like, is it all right for the FDNY to to march along with the NYPD. I was gonna get a group of guys and see how many we could get. And yeah, she was all for it. She's like, we're gonna do it every year now if you could get a lot of guys.
So when did you start? Did you start last year?
I started 2 years ago.
And how many people did you bring in?
In the parade?
Yeah.
We brought in, I think there was a total of maybe 20 guys there. They weren't all Filipino though. Like there were a lot of, because I called up the Asian Society, the Phoenix Society, and they called, I had them talk to Faye, so that, because I didn't want to step on anyone's toes, so I had them talk to Faye. And they set something up. There was a fire truck there. It was great.
Oh, that's nice.
You mentioned earlier, it seems like EMT and FDNY, it seems like they're connected. You have to be EMT person to be a firefighter?
No, you don't have to be. It's two separate agencies, but it is under the FDNY umbrella. But you could get promoted from EMS onto being a firefighter, or you could just take the regular open competitive civil service exam, which is both. But yeah, you don't have to be an EMT to be a firefighter. Absolutely not. Yeah.
And how important it is for you to know a language, not just English, in dealing with the community, either as an NYPD or a firefighter?
I think it's important. It's Tagalog isn't the language that you should know when you're in New York City, because it's not, most Filipinos who I encounter, they speak English well. I think Spanish was definitely helpful. It's a helpful language to know. But I guess with any job, if you speak a second language, that's always a benefit.
Because sometimes it's harder to explain. Let's say you have a crime committed, committed against you, and you want to explain to somebody. Sometimes the native language is easier for you to me, I'm having a problem now.
Yeah.
There probably would be interpreters, right?
We do. But at the
have
same time, though, I
interpreters.
mean, if someone's interpreting, they may not be as candid. So if you're, in your example, if a Filipino were a victim of a crime, and he or she was undocumented, and they want to speak with with a Filipino officer, it might be a little easier for us to get the information that we need, or just reassure that person in Tagalog that you're not going to report him or her to the immigration authorities. So that it would be helpful in that regard.
One of the impressions I read somewhere of the average American about Asian NYPD, Asian police officers, is that we are not tough enough, we're not formidable enough. Unlike probably if you are African American maybe, or Latino. Have you encountered
No, not at all.
that kind of observation?
No, definitely not at all. I mean, you can make the argument about women also, but the women in particular, they bring in like a sense of calm whenever whenever they respond to a situation. That's a little. I guess if you have two guys who are hyped up, I mean, sometimes it takes a woman's touch to kind of diffuse the tension, to diffuse the situation. So I mean, that's the great thing about being in a diverse police department, having a number of different races. I mean, you have officers with various skill sets that they can come in and try to solve the situation or diffuse the
In fact,
tensions.
some people are saying that the reason Asian police officers are usually kept doing administrative work is because of this impression or wrong stereotyping that they're kind of soft. In fact, some people they're not scary enough. Maybe
Have a
I
baby
don't know.
face.
Guy has a gun. I'm scared.
I've never.
You've never heard that. Okay.
And we don't keep statistics anyway. And that's definitely not something that I've encountered. And I mean, maybe when it comes to the higher ranks, you might see a lot more non-Chinese, ranking officers who are assigned administratively, because fortunately or unfortunately, our community is very small, so there's really not much of an opportunity for us to be
that's true,
assigned to patrol. Where in African American
yes,
communities or Hispanic communities, the members of those communities, they want someone who speaks their language or who represents them. But we don't. We have a very small Filipino community here. I mean, it's one of the largest ones in the United States, but it's still not large enough where they're clamoring for for Filipino commanders, let's say, to represent them.
Well, I want to talk more about the diversity issue. So, Ryan, your 2013 probationary firefighter, fire department probationary class, was actually the most diverse in FDNY history since 2008, with 40% of its members actually being minority, 13% African American, 23% Hispanic, and 4% Asian. And Deputy Inspector, just a few weeks ago, we had 884 new police officers to join the force, and that was the most diverse in NYPD history. That is all great, that there are more minorities that are being represented, but do you feel that FDNY and NYPD actually mirror the diversity of the city, like the leadership, like the deputy inspectors or the captains or the chiefs? Do you see more Fil-Ams raising up to that rank, or?
Well, there aren't many Fil-Ams to begin with, so I couldn't tell you if they are raising up or not. But it's definitely getting better as far as that diversity goes. Like a lot more minorities are joining, a lot more Asians are joining, and it's really up to the individual itself. It's not minority or not. Like if you want to join, take the test. You know?
I mean, the city population is almost 50% foreign-born. Do you see that in your organization?
Oh, what do you mean as far as like minorities go?
Yeah. Are there a lot of foreign-born people?
It's getting there. It's getting there. It's definitely getting better.
The opportunity is definitely there. And one thing that people have to realize is the senior-most ranks in the police department are occupied by the people with the most tenure. So when you when you look at diversity, you can't look at the recent class that was just hired and expect the upper echelon to reflect that, because it takes, I mean, just in the position where I am, it takes 20 years to reach it. So for me to go up any higher, it would take another decade or so to actually reach those ranks. So it's not, I don't think it's realistic to expect someone to walk in the door as a police officer and without any experience, or even with minimal experience to be promoted up to chief. It takes time if you want to have any credibility as a supervisor or as an executive. I think you definitely should do your time and go through the ranks the same way that everyone else does. And it's the promotional opportunities actually in the police department is what kept me on the job. So there was, you asked earlier why I joined the NYPD. Yeah. So I gave you my reasons, but there was also another reason for me to stay, and it was the promotional opportunities. It's civil service, so you have to take a test to advance in the police department. There's an exam for sergeant, and you have to be a sergeant for X number of years before you can move to lieutenant, and before you can move to captain. And it doesn't matter who you know. You could be the police commissioner's son. If you don't do well on that exam, you don't get promoted. So I think it's a lot better than the private sector in that regard. But the higher up you go, of course, politics come into play. But at the very least, the first 3 promotions, it doesn't.
Is the NYPD an attractive job for young Filipino-American men?
I should hope so. I mean, there's definitely a lot going on.
How do you make it attractive?
Whenever I speak with Filipinos, young Filipinos, I tell them about the benefits of the job, not just the financial benefits, not just the early retirement, but as far as the number of things that they can do. So with younger Filipinos, those who are in high school, those who express an interest in joining the NYPD, they always tell me that they want to major in criminal justice, and that's something that I want to try to talk them out of it. Like, if you're going to join the NYPD, do something else. Like, if you have a passion, if there's another career that you want to pursue, like accounting or the arts, pursue that and then join the NYPD, because the police department, we're supposed to mirror the society and the communities that we serve, and we don't want everyone coming in with
criminal
justice degree. We need accountants, we need attorneys, we need nurses, we need artists, and it's a lot better. As a manager, I have just a better working environment, and when you have this diversity of thought and training.
You're both married, right?
Yes.
Okay, sorry guys, ladies.
Nice.
sorry ladies.
You never know.
So it must be tough for them, for your wives, for the family, every time you step out of the door. I mean, especially like the news only focus on the not so good. They don't see like the big picture being a civil servant. And how do you deal with your like worried wives or something, or children?
Well, I just want to give credit to the police officers who are out there on patrol. But right now I'm in an administrative capacity, so it's Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. So I do enjoy the benefit of just having a stable work work life. But occasionally I do go out on patrol, and it was difficult in the beginning, but it's something that my wife understands. It's when she met me, I was a police officer, so it's just something that you don't think about, and it's not something that I think about when I go out on patrol. I think about doing a good job and doing what I have to do to make it home, and just kind of you block it out. You block it out of your mind.
What about you,
Yeah,
Ryan?
she gets upset sometimes. The late nights sometimes, or the weird hours. Are just it's very, very difficult for her, especially because we have a 1-year-old at home. So it's very difficult for her. But she understands too. She knows I'm helping people. She knows I'm doing my best at what I do, and she's good with it. She's not
I'm sure they're both very proud of you too. Yeah.
I mean, when I joke about, sometimes I was like, oh, if I die tomorrow.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. You do that to Jen?
Yeah, I do
Oh
that
my
to her.
But your wife, your
I joke
father-in-law,
about it.
your father-in-law is in the same trade,
my
right?
my father-in-law was an EMS lieutenant, so
yeah.
that's what
She
she
more or
kind
less
of got
knows
used to
what
it.
kind of a
she
life
knows,
to
she knows, she knows,
expect.
she
Yeah.
knew the hours, she knew how it was gonna work. But when I joke about it, she gets really upset about it. It's like, don't talk like that. I was like,
I would get
it
upset.
could happen.
Is the FDNY still dominated by the Irish and the Italian?
No, like I
Americans?
said, it's getting diversified.
Okay.
It's getting a lot better. So
Okay.
yeah.
Did we talk about the application process? I forgot.
Yeah.
Did we discuss the application process of how long does it take? How do you apply?
Like, how long did it take for you to get even to where you are now? I mean, you said 20 years to get into that position.
To get into that
Yeah,
position,
but
to
how
get
did
on
you
the
get
job, it actually took me close to 5 years, because when I took the test in the late 80s and early 90s, there was a hiring federal funding for hiring called Safe Streets, Safe Cities, and 60,000 people took the test a year before I did. And then when I took the test, I think there may have been another 50,000 in front of me. I'm not sure of the numbers, but it's civil service, so you have to hire the person who took the test a day before you, even if you did better on the exam, and that's done for just for transparency reasons. And it took me a while to just kind of wait, and that's why you don't see a lot of people now joining the NYPD, because they take the test and it takes up to 3 years to get hired, even now, and they just kind of lose, not so much lose hope, but they get a little antsy and
Disheartened.
yeah,
Yes,
but they
motivation.
know that going in though. They know, you take the test, you have to complete a background check. There are forms that you have to fill out and send in, and you have to do a medical and mini medical and psychological exams, and that takes and there's a process to that, and you can't just take the test and be hired the
Expected to
following
be
day
hired,
or the following week, and you just have to have a little patience.
And in the meantime, do you continue your
You continue
kind of
school.
training?
Yeah, you can take the test to
Okay.
become an NYPD officer at 17 and a half.
What about the training? Do you continue
Well,
training in the meantime that you're waiting?
We're
okay.
not too much into have
Okay.
too much time, so I just wanted to ask you for the FDNY
The
quickly,
process.
and then we'll go on to the last
it took
question.
it took me like 3 years to get on. Same thing. I took the test. It was pretty much the same thing. You go through all the backgrounds and whatever else. So it's pretty much the same as the NYPD. Theirs is a little more. I think they go a little more into it though, because they're giving you a gun. So.
And the waiting's a lot longer for FDNY because of
For
the demand.
FDNY, yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause, like he was saying, for ours it was I think it was 60,000 that took my test alone.
Oh,
So they're
crazy.
working off of that list, and we only put I think 300 something in each class. Do the math. It's
Yeah.
crazy how high demand it is
Yeah.
for a job though. So.
And just to close it off, I wanted to ask you two last questions. What would be one piece of advice that you would tell somebody that would be interested in joining the NYPD or FDNY?
Well, the FDNY it's a great job. It's the greatest thing I've ever been in. I love it. Every day I walk into work with a smile on my face. I can't wait to go to work. I'm going to work tonight. Can't wait to go. And it's rewarding. You help people. You put out fires. You're in a fire truck. You wear this. It's the coolest thing I've ever done in my life.
I know it's the last question, but I wanted to do like 1.5 question on top of that. Okay. What is the most, defining moment as an FDNY? Like most memorable.
Most memorable moment? I mean, all of them are. It's whenever you save someone. Like that's especially when I was on EMS. Doing CPR and you get a pulse back. amazing
That is
feeling.
good.
Yeah.
Amazing feeling. Yeah.
Okay. And what is one piece of advice from the NYPD?
It's pretty much the same thing. I mean, it's a rewarding career that you shouldn't overlook. There are a number of opportunities for you to advance and to go back to school if you want to continue your education. And you know, looking back at my career, I mean, yeah, sure, absolutely, I do have some regrets and career disappointments. But you know, but then I think that's normal with any career. And you know, I think we need more representation. We need more Filipinos. You know, if we want to help out our community, it's the best way to do it. So stop, you know, get off the sidelines and stop complaining about the police and join if
join
you
the
want to
force.
make a difference.
Yeah, that's actually one of the reasons why one of my closest friends actually joined the police force this most recent graduating class. Is I want to be the change. I wanted
Yes.
to be the one to be out there and actually create the change. So thank you again for being here with us. I wanted to just let everyone know if you wanted to get more information about the NYPD and FDNY, to go on their Facebook. And I think that's it. I just want everyone to give everyone a hand of.
It's an honor.
Yeah, thank
Thank you so much.